The large luxury sedan segment isn't an extremely popular one, even though many aspire to own one of these luxurious yachts as a symbol of status and success. The Mercedes-Benz S-Class is clearly the leader in this segment. In 2021, Mercedes sold a total of 14,284 units of the S-Class in the United States. BMW 7 Series came in second with just over 7,700 units sold, and Lexus took the third spot with just over 3,300 units. Audi's A8 took the fourth position, selling just 2,068 units, which is a little surprising since this is a pretty exciting option, especially when you go for the high-performance S8. I mean, even Jason Statham dropped his 7 Series for an A8 to transport people who he didn't want to know the names of and packages he never wanted to open, even though he broke those two rules like in every Transporter movie. Now, I might not be as exciting to look at as Jason Statham, but I definitely have more hair. And I don't know why I woke up this morning and chose war with Jason Statham. Either way, my name is Omar, and this is the 2022 Audi S8. Okay, so I totally understand why people would buy the S-Class and the 7 Series over the A8 and the S8, but a Lexus LS over this? Come on now. The 1,000 or so people that made that decision in 2021, I just want to know, what were you thinking? That said, the A8 and the S8 combo aren't getting any major updates for the 2022 model year. It isn't becoming an overly luxurious sedan with a bunch of bells and whistles and amenities that you see in the S-Class and the 7 Series. It's still a pretty understated option in this segment, and that could be due to the fact that sedans are starting to die off. I mean, as a business case, spending money to develop a large luxury sedan in this day and age isn't really all that plausible, especially when new car shoppers are looking for SUVs, and in about 2 or 3 years, they'll be looking for EVs. So, what's new for 2022, and is the A8 and the S8 something you should consider buying over the other large luxury sedans? Let's find out. Let me give you a tour of the 2022 Audi S8 that I'm testing here. We'll take a look at some of the updates on the inside, some new design touches on the outside, and then I'll give you my opinion on whether or not if you should buy this big luxury yacht over the competition. Make sure you hit like, make sure you hit subscribe, especially if you like Jason Statham. All right, let's go and do this. Now, before we check out the inside of the new S8, let's talk about getting inside because something really interesting happens when you open the door. Check this out. As soon as I open the door on the Audi S8, the whole thing jumps up, and it jumps up fast. Now, the reason this exists is because Audi knows a lot of its customers are starting to prefer SUVs over sedans since they are easy to get in and out of. So to make the A8 and the S8 more appealing, every time you open the door, it will jump up 2 inches so it's easier to get inside. As soon as you close the door, it will go back down to a ride height level. This feature is a part of something called Predictive Active Suspension, and it does more than just making getting in and out of the S8 easier. For example, if the cameras in the front see a bump coming up on the road ahead, the S8 will rise up so you don't feel any discomfort inside. And if you have it in Comfort Plus mode, it'll adjust the height accordingly so you don't feel any body motions under heavy acceleration or deceleration. That is super cool. Keep in mind though that the Predictive Active Suspension is a $6,000 add-on option. Now, hop inside the new A8 and the S8 and you'll notice that nothing has really changed at all. Everything is exactly where it used to be and all the tech is exactly the same, and the A8 and the S8 both will roll into 2023 looking just like this. And I get it, not much of the interior needs to be drastically changed because it is still very stylish, very high quality, and very luxurious. However, the lack of any changes here leave the A8 and the S8 falling a bit behind competitors like the Mercedes-Benz S-Class and the BMW 7 Series, especially the new one. Both of those have a pretty elegant and luxurious vibe that's missing here from the A8. In fact, this interior, besides a few things here and there, is pretty much like the A6 and the A7. That said, almost everything you see here in terms of convenience, comfort, and tech is standard, considering the S8 starts at $116,900, and the same goes for the A8, which starts at over $86,000. Tech-wise, you get a very sharp and crisp digital instrument cluster display, which Audi calls virtual cockpit display, and it's pretty much the same as it's always been. And that's not a bad thing at all because it's still very sharp and very informative with a really beautiful full-screen map view and a few other views to pick from. This is really one of the best digital gauge cluster displays in the industry. And then of course in the center you still have a dual screen MMI infotainment system with a 10.1-inch touchscreen display at the top and an 8.6-inch touchscreen display at the bottom. The top screen houses all your infotainment stuff. You have wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto as standard. You also have navigation as standard. This screen also has a bunch of your other vehicle settings and general settings and controls for a full Audi experience. The lower screen is mainly for your climate control functions. You do have 4-zone climate control as standard in the A8 and the S8. From the screen, you can control your heated seats and your cooled seats and your heated steering, which are also standard on the S8 as they should be. Now, since the S8 is more expensive, you do get a few other luxury items like surface heating, which is basically heated panels on the center armrest and the area on the door where you rest your arm. So not only do you have heated seats, but you also get heated arms. I guess that's what you would call it. Another luxury item that you get in here is the air fragrance system, which seems to be a thing with large luxury sedans. Owners of these expensive yachts want some nice fragrance flowing through the cabin. The S8 here has 2 fragrances that you can pick from, including summer and winter, and you can also increase or decrease the intensity of it. But yeah, now you know what summer and winter really smell like. Now, if that wasn't enough for you, the S8 here also gets massaging seats, and these aren't just boring normal massaging seats where it feels like somebody's just sitting behind you and poking you. These actually help, and they feel really solid. By the way, before we keep it moving, check out these really cool vents. They only reveal themselves when you have the climate control on. If you turn it off, the vents will go into hiding, and all you'll see is a seamless continuation of the carbon fiber trim. That is really, really cool. And not only that, to open and close the vents, you use this digital slider. In regular cars, you have a manual switch, but in the S8 and the A8, which is not a peasant vehicle, you have a digital slider because it's all about luxury. Now let's check out the rear seats of the Audi S8 because that's what it's all about. Once you get back here, you're working with a massive 44.3 inches of legroom. I'm about 6 foot tall. That is my seating position. As you can see, I can literally live back here. And yeah, it is very comfortable and very relaxing back here, but not everything is standard or really all that exciting as it is in the S-Class and the 7 Series. For example, to get heated seats back here, you'll have to throw on a variety of different packages. My test model comes with a Comfort Plus package for $4,700, and that gives you the heated rear seats. Now, if you want to get a little fancy back here with things like heated armrest panels, ventilated or cooled seats, and some nice massaging functions, well, that will cost you more. You can go for the rear seat comfort package for $4,200. Or if you want a 4-passenger configuration with the center rear console and folding tables, you'll have to drop $5,900. But yeah, no matter what setup you go with, this is still a very nice and very comfortable place to be. Fold down the center armrest and you have your climate controls and the controls for your heated seats right here in this panel. So yeah, while the fancier life may be a little extra, as standard you do get power shades for each of the rear side windows and a power shade for the rear window, which you can control by using these buttons right here. And not only can you close the shade for the rear part of the sunroof, but you can also close the front part. I get the rear part, but why the front? That's pretty interesting. By the way, that panoramic sunroof is standard on the A8 and the S8. Oh, and you also have a vanity mirror in case you need to check yourself out while you're being chauffeured in the back of the S8. So yeah, overall, the interior of the Audi S8 is a solid place to be. Yes, it's a little bit less than the competition, but so is the price tag by quite a bit. So it's understandable. Again, the regular S8 starts at around $86,500 and the S8 starts at right under $117,000. As tested here, my test model carries a final price tag of $135,595. Now, a couple of other things to point out. The overall interior is covered in a Valletta and Valcona leather. I hope I'm saying that right, which I'm guessing is some super expensive and super exclusive leather. You also have this dynamic microfiber material, and overall, it's a very high quality cabin. My test model here has some extra leather like on the dash up here, as a part of the $4,700 Comfort Plus package. Oh, and check this out. I just noticed that you have some storage in the armrest of each of the doors. Both the front doors and the rear doors have this storage area. That's interesting, and I wonder what people will use that for. As standard, you get this carbon fiber, or what Audi calls carbon vector trim. You have it all over the dash, the gear shift, and the door panels. You do have some piano black here on the center console and on the dash, but here's something interesting. If you're one of the very, very few people that loves piano black, you can swap out all the carbon fiber for piano black for an extra $500. And if you're somebody that would do that, drop a comment so I can dislike it. Now, I don't want to spend too much time in here, but I think it's worth pointing out that Audi's interior is starting to show some age when it comes to the driver assist tech. While most brands will offer you adaptive cruise control and active lane tracing assist as standard, I mean, you see them on Hondas and Toyotas all across the lineup, even the Corolla has it. Over here on the S8, it's actually optional as a part of the executive package for $3,800. And what's interesting is that you don't get a heads-up display with it. If you want a heads-up display, that's a part of the $4,700 Comfort Plus package that I've been mentioning. Nonetheless, you do get a really solid camera game with a rear view camera, a 360-degree camera, and you also get the 3D camera where you can circle around your S8 and check it out from the outside. Let's check out the cargo capacity of the S8. You can pop the trunk by using a button located right here underneath the Audi logo. And once you get it open, sorry for the mess, you're working with 12.5 cubic feet and you have a little tiny pass-through right there if you need to fit in longer items. But yeah, it's plenty spacious. So what about the outside of the S8? Has anything changed for 2022? Well, one of the biggest changes is the size. For 2022, the A8 and the S8 are only available in their long wheelbase forms. Audi has dropped the regular size versions of the 8, so while it gives you more legroom inside, it also gives you more of a presence. You'll see some changes to the front end with a new grille design, and you also have some sharper looking headlamps. On the back, it looks pretty much the same as it always did, besides a few touch-ups to the taillights. Other than that, the A8 and the S8 continue on with their subtle and elegant styling. You get 20-inch wheels as standard, but with the $2,100 black optics package here on my test model, you get those upgraded to 21-inch wheels. Also, as a part of that package, all your Audi rings and badges all around the outside are blacked out. All the chrome and the side view mirror housings are also blacked out, so I think this looks really cool and it's worth paying $2,100 extra for. Now let's get back to the headlamps and the taillights because they are actually really cool. We all know that Audis have some really cool lighting animations when you look directly at them, but check out what you have here on the 2022 S8. The headlamps here will actually project a really cool animation on the wall or the road as you unlock it. Now that's some next level shiatsu right there. And when you're done driving and turn off your S8, you'll see another animation that's projected on the wall. That is so cool. Now, if you look closely, there is a subtle yet significant update to the taillights. You have these new 4 design elements in the taillights. Now watch what happens when I turn on the turn signals. It fills in the other parts of the taillights, and if you look closely, you'll see a tiny little Audi logo in each of the 4 lights. That's the subtle attention to detail that makes Audi so awesome. Now, before I go ahead and launch control this thing and I tell you how the S8 drives and how it stacks up against the competition, let me point out a few important daily ownership highlights that I'll have to show all of you. You have 4 cup holders, 2 in the front right there, and then you have 2 in the back in that center armrest right there. Here are what the keys look like to the Audi S8. No S logo, apparently, but yeah, same old Audi set of keys. Door open and close sound from the outside. By the way, you do have soft closed doors on the A8 and the S8, so that's pretty nice. Now, from the inside. Solid. Come on, it's an Audi. What did you expect? Charging game-wise, everything in the front is in the center armrest. You have 2 USB-C ports and a wireless charger right over there. Seems like Audi is not a fan of exposed USB ports, so rear passengers have 2 USB-C ports right there in the center armrest, and then they also have 2 cigarette lighter chargers right there. Wish the USB-C ports were just there instead of here. All right, it's time for an indicator and horn sound test. Indicator first. Same old Audi indicator. Now for the horn sound. Oh yeah, that is solid. All right, let's launch this thing. Left foot on the brake, gas all the way down. Let it build. Launch control active. Oh, man. That is surprisingly quick. Now 0 to 60 for the S8 here comes in at 3.8 seconds, which isn't too far off from the S63 and the M760i. The S63 will do it in the low 3 seconds range, and the M760i will do it in the mid 3 seconds. So yeah, the S8 isn't slow and boring by any means. Yeah, it isn't as much as a chauffeur sedan like the S-Class and the 7 Series, but driving dynamics and comfort-wise, it's right up there with both of those. And honestly, I've never really seen anybody that bought an S-Class or a 7 Series actually sit in the back and be chauffeured around. That would be weird, especially where I live. Now, I will say one thing, while the S-Class and the 7 Series have more of a wafty and luxury bounce to them, the S8 here doesn't. To me, this feels more planted and connected to the road. So if you're looking for a more connection with the road, the A8 and especially the S8 is probably the one that you should go for. Now, don't get me wrong, this still feels pretty heavy. It weighs over 5,100 pounds, and you do feel the weight, but it does handle its weight well. Handling wise, it's what you would expect from a large luxury sedan. It's not anything that you would take to the track, but it's not that bad at all. I feel like the S8 handles slightly better than the 7 Series and the S-Class. Now, I really haven't talked much about the engine here because there isn't any major update there. You're still working with a 4-liter twin-turbo V8 pumping out 563 horsepower and 500 and 90 pound-feet of torque. It's made it to an 8-speed Tiptronic transmission, and the shifts are seamless as you would expect, but that power delivery from that twin-turbo V8 is just so smooth. It just kind of rolls on the more you push it, especially when you have this in dynamic mode. And it actually sounds pretty good. Ooh. I like it. Let's downshift a little bit. Go to 3. Oh man, that sounds really good. Comfort-wise, I will say that the S-Class feels a little smoother than this, obviously, though the M760i feels a lot closer to the way the S8 drives. You can definitely feel that predictive active suspension doing its thing, but it does cost an extra $6,000. Nonetheless, it does a great job of smoothing out the ride over bumps and imperfections on the road. But again, the S8 is more of a driver's car rather than a car that you want to be chauffeured around in. I would honestly drive this around all day and then go sit in the back and relax and stretch out. And to be honest, I'm really surprised by the way this thing sounds. I did not expect it to sound like this, especially on the inside. Now, another area where the A8 and the S8 start being a little bit more appealing than the competition is when it comes to the pricing. Just to start thinking about owning an S-Class, you'll have to set aside over $110,000. And while the starting price tag of the current 7 Series is pretty much on par with the A8, it's on its way to get phased out, and a new 7 Series is on the way. And I'm pretty certain that the new 7 Series will demand a starting price tag north of $100,000. Granted that the S8 that I'm driving here starts at just under $117,000, but the comparable, or comparable, whichever one you want to use, M760i starts at over $157,000, and the AMG S63, which you can't get right now, when it came out, it carried a starting price tag of over $160,000. So yeah, while the A8 and the S8 are the more understated of the 3 large German luxury sedans, it's still a pretty strong option to consider if you're shopping in this segment. It'll give you all the luxury, all the tech, all the performance for much less. The only thing that I would really say is that when it comes to the S8 specifically, you can spend just $2,000 more and get yourself into an Audi RS7, which is probably what I would do. Either way, thanks for watching. Make sure you hit like, make sure you hit subscribe, make sure you follow me on Instagram and on TikTok. My handle is @OmarDrives. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Take care. Peace. Downshift to 4. Oh yeah. Come on, S8. You can probably pick one of these up in a few years for much less than $117,000.